I'm good. I'm really glad that you joined me here on no, it's a Wednesday already. Good
I
Lord.
know
It's
time
a
flies.
Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're both in Manhattan, which I
We are.
love.
Yes.
You're
Me
one of the
too.
you're one of those people that I got to meet virtually and then give a real life hug to.
Years ago, or maybe a year ago.
Maybe a year ago. But it's just, it's very cool. Every time I get to see you, I'm like, there's Tina. Because here's the thing, for those of you who are watching, Tina Larsson is a friend. She's a client. She's a visionary. She's a business owner. She's an entrepreneur. She's amazing. And she always brings this air of positivity everywhere she goes and energy. Like the woman is unstoppable. So if you don't know Tina Larsson and you have not connected with her yet, please do so. Hi, Paul. I'd like to be drinking a Manhattan. Yes, I would like to be drinking a Manhattan as well. That's my favorite drink, Paul Kirch. And hello, Joy. Thank you for joining us. Yay, New York City. So thank you for being here. Paul's also part of Confidently Speaking. We had a great talk the other day. Was that just yesterday? Was that Monday? I can't remember anymore, Tina. The days are just kind of beautifully melding together.
They are indeed.
Yes. So,
and Paul is asking if I hear music. I hear no music.
That's a problem. That's a problem. So just to give the people who are watching right now context, when we do our Confidently Speaking weekly workouts, so what that is I have a group coaching program. We do improv for speakers. We have practice days for speakers. We talk about public speaking. We do exercises that are improvisationally based or theatrically based, and we talk about what the real world consequences are in our everyday businesses with our one-on-ones, networking, and then also getting up on stages, whether that be here virtually or on a physical stage and live. Tina's been in the group for like 2 years, and I always play music at the beginning of every session to get like the energy up, right? As people are coming into the room. And Tina, for some reason, has not been able to hear the music, but what I love about Tina is she can't hear the music, but the rest of us are all jamming out. And so she just mirrors us and she jams out with us, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So Tina, welcome. Janice, thank you for being here. Thank you, Vince, for being here. I appreciate Constance. Hello, good morning. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have Tina talk about her business, the Folsom Group, which is a fantastic. First of all, this woman is a visionary. I said that already, but she saw a problem and she found a solution, and that became her business. And she is the only one in Manhattan that is doing what she is doing. And so I want, if anything, by the end of this talk that we have together, that is true ingenuity. That is like seeing something, pouncing and making it your own and taking risk. And so Tina, I'm going to hand this baton over to you, because enough about me, so that you can talk about the Folsom Group. And I want you to give a little bit of your origin story, because I think that's a really great way for people to connect with you and your business. So go ahead, have at it.
Sure. Thank you, Meredith.
You're welcome.
Yes. So I come from a finance background. I was a business analyst on Wall Street for many, many years, and analyzing the financial statements and the versus stock price of multi-billion-dollar companies. And then we bought a co-op, and after a few years living there, my husband and I, we got the increase, the dues that you pay. So if you rent, you pay rent, and if you live in a co-op or condo, you pay maintenance or common charges. And they were increasing, and we started thinking about it. We went like, this is a 5% increase, and we went back. That had happened every year for 10 years in a row. So we went like, this doesn't make sense in a non-inflationary period that all the expenses go up by 5%. So we spoke with some of our neighbors, and it turned out that they felt the same way. So we held a coup.
Like we had a coup.
We all got together, all of these neighbors who felt the same way. We got together a little group, and we took over the board. Because my husband is more diplomatic than I am, he is the board member and I am not. But because of my analytical background, I helped the board at the time with their finances. So I was the head of the finance committee. So I went like, well, they said, oh, if you can save some money, that would be great. And I went, how do I do that? So I did what I did on Wall Street, which is to go out and get the financial statements for other buildings to have something to compare to. And once I had enough data, and just by the way, all my real estate friends, they love me when I tell this story, because I went out to open houses and pretended to be a buyer. But
you're like, thanks.
I know.
Thank you very much, Tina.
And so when I had enough data, we made some phone calls and eliminated some services that were paid for with different vendors for the same service, and renegotiated some. And in the first 3 years, we were able to save our building $340,000.
$340,000. Every time you tell me that story, because I've heard that story a lot because we worked on your talk together, I just find that's profound. Like, I think you had originally said that the goal was to save $10,000. Am I right? And you're like, well, I got this. We're going to save you $340,000. So you made a business out of that. You're like, I could do this again.
Yeah. So when I was out networking, I went like, who wants to speak with another? You know, in New York, everybody wants to meet another financial advisor, right?
Oh, yes. Sarcastically, you mean? Is that what you mean? Just like another insurance broker?
Yeah. So when I was out networking, instead of introducing myself as a financial advisor, I introduced myself as I helped my co-op save $340,000. And all of these people, they said, oh, can I introduce you to my board? And I'm like, sure. So we made a business out of it, and it is really, it's been amazing. Think about it. Every single other industry use consultants to help them increase sales or revenue, become more efficient, install automation systems to increase profit margin or to increase sales or whatever their purpose is. This is the only industry that relies 100% of the property manager, who is a third-party vendor, but they don't have a consultant.
Yeah.
So here we are providing our service.
I think what you do is terrific. And the thing I will also share with people who are watching right now is that Tina is an incredible networker. So those realtors, even though you pretended to be the buyer, I know that you have since taken care of them. I know that you have introduced them to plenty of people because you really do have everyone's best interest at heart. And that's something else that I really appreciate about you, is that you're very much about paying it forward, and that give and take relationship that you have going on with a lot of your vendors and a lot of your clients in New York City and beyond. So I applaud you for that, because that's a lot to balance, and you do a very good job of doing so while running a business at the same time, because it's all about giving back the love, is it not?
Yes. There's nothing better than giving back.
Yes. Well, you're getting a lot of love in the comments, and I just want to acknowledge that we have other Confidently Speaking members in the audience right now watching and giving comments. And thank you so much for being here and being supportive. And Joseph Bennett, who's in Central Mexico, who I co-host a podcast with, and he's also quite the visionary and multi-hyphenate, if you will. And we got Paul Kirch here, who's also in the group, and he's got the Boss Academy. If you don't know about that and you want to network, or you want to have some resources or masterminds to figure out how to grow your business and that support system that's so important, that's a terrific group. And I just really appreciate folks being here and being supportive. And Confidently Speaking is a branch of Grundei Coaching. I feel we need a place where we can go, we can build that adaptability, that flexibility muscle together as a group, do some improv, have some fun, have some new ideas for how to generate content, have a place to practice. And this group is fantastic. And I could not be more proud of the humans that show up every week to do this like weekly workout. And that's what I like to think of it. It's like your mental, physical, vocal workout for the week. And Tina, I have to say, when you first showed up, and I remember I presented the first exercise, you were like, I mean, I'm not going to speak for you. You need to speak about your experience, but why, if you don't mind, just share with people like what drew you to the group, and then what was your like that first class? Tell us a little bit about it.
I was terrified. And that was at the point where I had already worked on this for many, many years. And but in the last couple of years, things have started to take off. I was in BNI for 7 years. And during those 7 years, I had a stomach cramp every time I had to do my 30-second commercial. For 7 years, every week.
That's a lot to put on the body for 7 years consistently. And you kept showing up to put yourself through that pain.
And I got better.
Yes.
And all of those years later, I was still terrible. And
grace, have some grace.
Well, I'm happy now. I'm comfortable now. I still have lots to work on, but I have come a long way.
I will say, you have come a tremendous way. And here's the thing that I feel, just for our listeners right now, is that you showed up, and yes, you were terrified, but that is what I do appreciate so much about you. And what I know you understand is that it's process. We're always works in progress. We're always learning. We're always growing. And you showed up terrified, but you kept showing up. And not only now are you diving into every exercise, but you were like, I've set goals for myself. Like, you have been on how many podcasts now? You set a goal for 100 this year. So if you have a podcast and you want Tina to be a guest, I
reach out
to her, because this woman sets goals and she makes every single one of them happen. You wanted to write a talk or write a book and then deliver a talk. You did those things. You did a 30-minute talk. Am I right? No, 20-minute talk. I helped coach you, and I'm getting the number of years. So you did a 20-minute talk. You memorized it on top of that, which is huge. And
I have to interrupt you.
Yes.
Anyone, I have to tell the audience, not you, because you already know it.
Okay, I'll stop listening. Just kidding.
So when Meredith told me, when we started working on this, you told me that I had to memorize this because anything longer than 5 minutes, I need to memorize. I went like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. We practiced for 3 months on and on. We worked together first, and then we took a pause, and then we worked together, and during which I was practicing, and then we did in the finish line, we did once a week. Mm-hmm. If people had asked me 2 nights before I was giving the talk if I was going to memorize it, I would have told you no. Never going to happen. Now what do I do? But I followed the process, and I did exactly what you told me to do. And last minute you had how about we do this? We use a green marker, and how about you do this? And I stood on stage and I remembered it.
You did a phenomenal job. Can I speak into that a little bit, Tina? Because there's a lot of debate in the world of public speaking of whether one should be memorized or not memorized. There's some TED stages that say be memorized. There's some that say don't be memorized. It's all across the board. That is a conversation that happens. So here is the Meredith Grundei philosophy on all of it, right? First of all, it depends on what type of a talk it is. It also depends on where you are as a speaker in your journey. And I have found that if you're well memorized, that's when you're able to find the formlessness within the content, and you're able to then engage with your audience. It's also a really wonderful way to build that memorization muscle. And so that maybe there will be a talk down the road that you don't necessarily need to memorize, but it's going to be easier for you because you'll now know how to practice, and you have those steps. And we did some Jim Quick work. So if some of you aren't familiar with Jim Quick, he's done a lot of work with memorization and so forth. And one of the things I offered up to Tina, and I believe you even read his book too, was to connect the section in which we chunked things out, that particular section, with an image. You did all of that work, or a color, right? So that our brains can associate what we want to say with an image or with a color. And so how did that process work for you?
Unbelievable. I mean, I have never done any kind of work like this, and even in breathing exercises, but I'll get back to that. I have never done any kind of acting, presenting type practice or coaching, or I never took any classes. I have absolutely zero experience with any of this. And it has really changed everything for me, how I prepare and how I remember and my stories, etc. So now I have this memorized story, and I have listened back, and it was not word for word. I mean, I had
That's okay.
memorized it, but it was not word for word. And there was actually a big chunk that was not in there at all, and that's fine too. But it felt really good, and it came out really good. And I had people in the audience who told me that they thought that it was going to be very boring, and they said, I have no interest in listening to about New York City co-ops and condos. And they thought that it was going to be painful, and they showed up to support me. And then they said that they said that it was a very fun talk, and they were very surprised. So, I mean, so all around, the whole thing worked out very nicely, but I use parts of that, what I memorized nowadays. So I speak with a lot of podcasters, as you said, and I've spoken with over 50. And it was actually a mutual friend of ours, Joe Apfelbaum, who said, the reason I'm good at podcasts is because I did 100 of them. And I went like, oh, that's how we're gonna do it.
Yes.
And that's when that's like about a year ago. And that's when I said, you know what, I looked at how many I had done. I had done one the previous year. And I went like, well, that's not gonna get me any good. If I want to be good, I need to do it over and over and over again and practice. And now I have my memorized speech, so to say, with my story, how we ended up there and all of this. And I use it, not the whole 20 minutes. Obviously, I'm not going to go on or on a podcast and talk about myself for 20 minutes, but I take out pieces of that depending on what the topic of the podcast is.
I think that's terrific. Yeah. So it's what I'm hearing you say is that it's about practice. It's that repetition. It's about putting yourself in potentially uncomfortable situations where it might feel a little bit scary. And I just wrote about this. When you do that, when you can make things feel, if things feel a little bit messy, and I know in our process it felt messy, and there were moments where you're like, what are we even doing? Right? What are we doing here? And I wrote about bench pressing the chair, which I actually made you do. And then we figured out it's like, no, just get on your bike and sing. And the point is, because when you allow yourself to express, to really lead from the heart and the body, that magic is on the other side. Yes. And that's why your audience loved your talk, is because you allowed yourself to be seen. You allowed yourself to take up space. And so that I want to applaud you for, because that's really challenging for so many people to do. And so it's no small step that you took. It is a huge, giant leap. And I want to say, yeah. And so many people in Confidently Speaking are also taking huge leaps, and I'm seeing huge progress. And it's really cool to just really watch those people unfold. And I will also say it's helped me tremendously. By just knowing all of you, I feel like I've grown. Like I knew, like I now brag about everybody. Like when I'm out and about, I'm like, you need to meet this person, So yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, no, that group coaching program is phenomenal. I mean, the participants or your students are amazing, and they provide so much support. I remember Joe Bennett, I said to him, I said, I can't, and I'm Joseph Bennett. Sorry, Joe. Joey.
I bet it goes by Joe too. Joey, Joseph.
Joey. So I told him, I said, I can't even make myself practice. I mean, I can't even do it. I know I'm supposed to do this every single day, and I just can't make myself do it. So we scheduled a Zoom call, and we talked, and he said, have you ever heard of habit stacking? And I'm like,
Mm.
yes, I use habit stacking all the time. I read a book early on in pandemic. I read a slew of books, and that was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I practice it for certain things, but this was not one of them. So, but now I do.
It's interesting how we kind of compartmentalize things and where they should fit in our routines and our habits. And so that's cool when we can have somebody on the outside just break something open for us and go, oh, I hadn't thought of that, which is the beauty of community, right? Or finding mentors in our life. So
Yes.
yeah. Well, so Tina, there's a couple of things here. One is I want to announce to everyone that's watching right now that we do have we're opening it up. We only open up membership to new members 4 times a year. We're going to be opening it up March 21st. That's the reason why I do that, is because I want the cohort to start to feel and comfortable with each other, to build that trust with each other. And then we can intentionally bring in the new members as they arrive. And so that we're opening that up on March 21st. So if people are interested, please reach out to me, or you can find me on grundeicoaching.com. And Tina, I would love for you to share with us what is on the horizon for you. What is your next big thing? And then I have it up here too, Tina Larsson. You can find her at the Folsom Group. She also works with co-ops and HOAs that are not necessarily in Manhattan. Am I right when I say that?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
you're all about saving people money. Okay. So like, if you want to
That's
save
it.
money, you reach out to Tina. And if your
Yeah.
HOA is like, oh, they're not doing a very good job. And she also wrote a book. And so I want you to talk to us about what's next, and then share a little bit about your book so people can find you.
Yeah. So thank you, Meredith.
You're welcome.
My book, I wrote a book last year. It's called Living the High Life: How Smart Co-op and Condo Owners Protect Themselves and Their Investment. It's available on Amazon. And that was kind of a precursor to my upcoming TED Talk. So I had a plan to do a TED Talk. I said to myself, what is the ultimate, most scariest thing when it comes to public speaking? It's standing on a TED Talk stage, right? And I have on my vision board a big Yankee Stadium filled with a big audience.
I love that.
Well, my business coach told me that she wanted me on a stage.
Okay.
She didn't necessarily specify what type of stage, but because the way that my brain functions, to me, that's Yankee Stadium or TED Talk stage.
Naturally.
I'm not going for lunch and learn with 6 people. That's not my brain.
You're not
That's
looking at 100-seat theater. You're like, Yankee Stadium, people.
So, and then someone else said to me, well, it's better to have a book before you do your TED Talk. So, but I've heard afterwards that someone said, oh no, you should have done your TED Talk first and then the book.
You know what? Here's my opinion. Everyone has opinion, and everyone's opinion is different than the last person's opinion. So you might as well just do what feels good.
Yes.
Boom.
So I'm about to write my TED Talk, and that's how far I've gotten. But it will happen.
It will happen. If I have no doubt with you, Tina, that it will happen.
Yeah.
You've got this. In fact, there might be a TED producer watching this right now who's like,
and I'm saying TED, if it's TEDx or it's Speak or it's some other platform, that's fine too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a TED Talk. It can be a TEDx or something.
well, Tina,
scary. Something scary.
Something scary. I love that. So here's my invitation to everyone that's watching right now. Before we say goodbye, we got 5 minutes. I want you to put into our comments, into the chat right now, what is the one thing that feels super scary to you that you're going to take one baby step towards achieving? So right now, just if you feel comfortable, I don't want to force people to put things into the chat, but just write one thing right now that feels uncomfortable and scary, but that one little action step that you can take to get closer to that scary goal. All right, I want to see them roll in, and let's see if we have any commonalities, because that's the other thing that's cool, is that sometimes the things that we find really scary, other people also do, and we have similar goals, and then we see your commonalities, and we're like, oh my God, I'm human, and that's so great, and I'm not alone in the world. So anyone, are you going to put something in that chat? Come on.
But
Anybody?
but I can, while we wait for all of these people telling us, I can tell you this.
Yes, tell me.
People often say, oh, you need to do something that scares you. And in general, I never think about things that scares me because I'm like, why would I want to think about that, right? Oh, Joseph is releasing his book when in doubt next month.
Ooh,
But
I
that's not
love
scary. That's exciting.
That's exciting. My global summit is scary as it's my first of all my summits where it's not private. Oh, that's huge. Thank you for sharing that, Constance. Ah,
But so last year, I threw myself out of a plane. And
yes, you did.
I have never really seen it that scary because I've never really seen myself throw myself out of a plane. But I guess it was kind of scary. But
Yeah.
and yeah.
So you're
So
like,
yeah. So I mean, there are things that you don't really think about. Is this really scary? I mean, this is not something someone told me the other day that they wanted to learn Spanish. I'm not. That's not scary. Is it scary? I don't know. Apparently, to her.
well, after you've, yeah, I mean, after you've leapt out of a plane, nothing seems scary after that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you,
And I
Tina.
think I'm gonna do it again this year.
Maybe I'll join you.
Yeah.
Because that is terrifying to me. I'm going to just say that's terrifying to me. So I want to say I just want to repeat back some of these. I saw the Global Summit. Thank you, Constance. I saw Joseph's release of his book, which is yes, scary when we're putting our words out, when we're being vulnerable. Thank you, Gerald, for being here. And Paul is about to do. He's about to do a talk for, I believe it's a Speak Homecoming is the theme in Texas. And so that's for a Speak event. I happen to be a channel partner with Speak, and they're doing some great pop-up events around the country. So if you don't know about that, reach out to me as well. I'm happy to send you in that direction. I did the world's longest zip line. That was scary at first, but then very fun after that. Oh my God, that's another thing that scares me. I love all of this. Okay, so I have 2 things on my bucket list now that I need to do. And if you're in the middle of a Mexican game, trying to learn Spanish might be scary. Thank you. Noted. Thank you, Paul. I want to say thanks to everyone for being here. I'm Meredith. If you want to get in touch with myself or Tina or find out more about Confidently Speaking, the beautiful Joseph Bennett, I noticed, thank you very much, put a link in the chat. So please find that, or you can always connect with me here on LinkedIn if you're not already. And please do connect with Tina. And that's it for today. Thanks and have a wonderful, prosperous Wednesday, and then the rest after that too. Okay, bye.